Hello and welcome to Only in Illinois, your weekly video recap from Reboot Illinois. I'm Madeline Dubeck here with Matt Dietrich. And this week, the governor made a swing through several central Illinois communities, Bloomington, Normal, and I believe the Champaign-Urbana area. And he said himself that he doesn't expect a whole lot to happen at the November 18th public meeting of the governor and the four legislative leaders. He doesn't expect anything to happen until January. And there's a very political reason why.
Yeah, and that's because November 30th is the end of candidate filing for the March primary elections. And Madeline, as you pointed out in a blog post this week, that's an especially contentious season this time of year.
I think we're about to see a legislative election the likes of which we've never seen before. And so here's what's happening as a political undercurrent. You know, the governor believes what he believes. I'm not suggesting that he doesn't, and the Democrats believe what they believe. But there's political calculations going on here, and those tend to always rise to the top, even though they don't always get talked about publicly.
Now, both sides say taxes are going to have to go up somehow. They need to raise new revenue. Well, if both sides agree on it, well, why don't they just do it? Do it now, why wait?
Well, they're waiting because they want to get past that November 30th deadline so they can see who has a competitive primary race, or as they refer to it in inside circles, being primaried. Mm-hmm. And because we now have a situation where we have a governor who's very, very wealthy, they all want to wait to see who's actually running against whom. And after November 30th, there'll be a long time of kind of challenging each other's signatures to get on the ballot. And they want to get a lay of the land politically before they put anybody who might have a contested primary out there voting for a tax increase.
Mm-hmm. Of either party.
Of either party,
yeah.
Correct. And so then we're looking probably at January. There's a second factor that comes in January, and that is before January, you have to have an extraordinary supermajority to pass anything at this point. After January, all it takes is a simple majority.
Right.
So it's a lot easier to do without putting your contested candidates out there and with their necks on the line in election season, so just a couple months before the primary.
If you agree on a budget and the Republican governor and Republican legislative leaders and House Speaker Michael Madigan and John Cullerton on the Democratic side, they agree on a series of tax increases. After January 1st, they don't have to put together in the House 71 members to vote on it. They only have to get 60. So the Democrats can protect a certain number of their people who they don't want to have voting for a tax increase, and then the Republicans can have only those who they see as being in safe races will go for the tax increase as well. So it's got to be perfect, and it's got to be just right for the safe races.
So they're really trying to protect their incumbents who may have competitive races. And so Matt, it's interesting because a lot of us around Illinois, and Reboot Illinois is among them, have been talking about how we need redistricting reform. And we need it because there aren't enough competitive races. Mm-hmm. So in this case, everybody's worried about competitive races much more so than before. Mm-hmm. Why is that?
Well, because this time around, you have a Republican governor who has a really limitless amount of resources that he can pour into to this election cycle. And ever since he was elected, Bruce Rauner has said that he intends to financially support Republican legislative candidates. Now,
so you did a blog post and you kind of tried to visualize exactly what the finances look like, because we all talk about how wealthy Rauner is, but kind of seeing it.
Mm-hmm. Well, in Rauner's campaign fund right now, he has $19.6 million. That's in the Citizens for Rauner campaign, which is his main candidate fund. The next closest campaign fund in all of Illinois is an independent expenditure committee, a super PAC, called Illinois Go, which is actually a fund that was designed to support Democrats who need to make difficult decisions, quote unquote difficult decisions, meaning voting for things like pension reform or things that might not be popular. That's very much regarded as a, maybe not a front for Bruce Rauner, but something that is sympathetic to Bruce Rauner's causes. But
so it's an independent expenditure committee?
Right, it means
okay.
that they can give unlimited, they can spend unlimited amounts on advertising, but what they can't do is coordinate with any individual candidate.
Also commonly referred to as a super PAC?
A super PAC.
Okay.
Now, if you look at Citizens for Rauner having this $19.6 million, and you want to go down to the next kind of similar competitive campaign committee, the Senate Democratic Victory Fund, which is controlled by Senate President John Cullerton, has $1.7 million, and the Democratic Majority, which is a Democratic Party campaign fund controlled by House Speaker Michael Madigan, has about $1.5 million. You know, you combine those two, and they've only got, what, about 1/6 or 1/7 what Rauner has now. And the other thing is that Rauner can put in more as he pleases. Now, you might say, well, we've got campaign contribution limits, so Governor Rauner can't just willy-nilly just supply hundreds of thousands of dollars to his Republican candidates, can he? Well, he can't directly. He's limited to $53,900 that he can give directly to candidates from his campaign
to
fund.
Every Republican running?
Right.
Okay.
If he wanted to, he could give them $53,900 in this election cycle. But what he is not limited in doing is he can take an unlimited amount from his campaign fund and give it to the Illinois Republican Party Fund. In the Illinois Republican Party Fund, there's no limit on how much it can give to individual candidates. So you can see how in a general election, it's fairly easy to get that money where it needs to go, and that's going to be a big change in the campaign finance picture in 2016, because for years Republican candidates have really struggled financially
To keep up with
the Democrats.
Speaker Madigan and
Right.
Senate President Cullerton.
And I, as an editorial page editor in Springfield for a lot of years, one of the campaign reforms we always wanted to see was leader limits. We wanted to see
Right.
limits imposed on how much the legislative leaders and the party leaders can hand out to candidates. And that never got anywhere in Springfield. And I'm kind of curious now to see, with Rauner in office and with his just unprecedented resources, if we might see someone entertaining that thought now, that maybe it's time we do put some limits on how much the parties can freely give. You know, I don't know, but certainly 2016 is going to be a year to watch in terms of where the money goes, and you know, does it have a big effect? Can Rauner and the Illinois Republican Party chip into the supermajorities that the Democrats now have in the General Assembly?
And so one last point, since you brought up leader limits, which is really a significant thing. If you stop and think about all this, you sort of see why we have such a stranglehold, why the governor and those 4 legislative leaders have such a stranglehold
Right.
on individual lawmakers, because those individual lawmakers, most of them, really depend on that campaign money and campaign staff help coming from either the governor or those leaders. And so they don't want to cross either of those guys, which is why you see them all waiting to see what the speaker and the legislative leaders are going to do.
And in an awful lot of these races, it's not just that they're getting a few $1,000 from the leaders. It's that they're getting 80% of their campaign funded by the leaders. So that is not a situation that's going to give you independent-minded lawmakers going to Springfield. And I should point out too that the table that I put together on our website this week came from Illinois Sunshine, which is a fantastic database that was put together by the Illinois Campaign for Political Reform. And I'd encourage everybody watching this, if you have an interest, to get on their weekly email mailing list, especially now because we'll have candidates getting more active in the next few weeks. But we're really seeing an influx of big money coming into our system now. And if you want to be an informed voter, it really pays to know where the money is coming from, who it's going to, and if your local representative is really raising money on his or her own, or are they beholden to, and are they just kind of a puppet in a proxy war where you have the House Republican leader and the Democratic House Speaker doing war against each other?
In the Illinois Sunshine site was recently updated, and it's phenomenal, very easy to read and understand, nice, simple, clean design, so be sure to check that out. So, as always, there's a political undercurrent to everything, only in Illinois.